Hello and welcome to the program Hot Button. Every parent's desire is to be a role model to his or her child, spiritually and educationally. With that, children get to learn good habits from their parents, and parents on their own part wants to remain that model for their child. My name is Johnny, and with me on the program today are
Femi Akintayo
and
Samuel Ngoikubanfor.
Welcome to the program today.
Thank you.
Today, we are going to be looking at the topic parental intervention and involvement.
To be at the friendship level, just letting the parents know this is my friend and letting it end there.
And once they start saying you with somebody, they will start tagging you and say, oh, you are doing position and so on. So you have to understand the kind of parents you have. Some fathers do even beat their children because they are in which is not meant to be so.
Once a parent is too strict on a child, it makes the child to bottle up.
Exactly.
You don't open up easily to tell them this is what is happening, because you know the first thing that's going to happen. What do you consider parental intervention or involvement?
Well, parental intervention, just going by the very word,
Okay.
it means there is possibly a situation and then you make effort or attempt to intervene.
Okay.
You want to make an attempt to steer something away from where it's headed or a situation to somewhere else. You know, so that's parental intervention. Involvement it could go in different ways.
Okay.
Either I get involved because I do not know where to draw the line and not knowing when to hold back,
Okay.
or you get involved because you are actually brought in because your ideas, knowledge, something about you is sought from the party, those who are involved in it, and then they need your input, then you are involved somehow.
Okay, to have a little bit of influence in the relationship.
Exactly.
All right, let's hear from you. What do you consider parental involvement and intervention?
I would say involvement has to do with presence.
Okay.
I mean, being there. And being there means there's something that one may have to do. Like Dr. Femi has said, it depends on the level to which one desires you to be there. But it basically has to do with presence, with being there. It could mean accompanying someone, in this case, accompanying children in their relationships. It could mean giving advice. It could mean a lot of things. And when we talk of intervention, I think I agree with him when he says that it has to do with a situation. You usually intervene when there's maybe a crisis, and there's something that you have to do, probably to remedy or to dictate or to steer a particular outcome. You want to achieve an outcome that's different from what it would have been initially. Then we talk of intervention.
Okay. Now, are parents supposed to be involved in their, young adult children's relationship?
I think it's a yes and no situation. There is no way the parents will not be involved. And there is a limit to which parents can be involved.
Okay.
So if you take the God situation with us human beings, God is involved in our lives. But at the same time, he leaves us with the free will to make our own decisions.
Okay.
He wants us. We choose whether we want to make our mistakes, even though we don't say it, but we give attitude of, it's my life. Let me learn. I'll make my mistakes. And God, very patient, he's watching. But does he tell us what to do? Does he show us the ideals? Does he tell us the right path to follow? Yes. So parents, can be involved, but involved in what manner? And how involved do you want to, how involved is involved and when do you leave the kids to do their own thing, and when do you actually step in because, hey, there is a better way and stuff like
Okay, so that determines whether the answer is yes or no.
Exactly.
So parents are naturally supposed to be involved because, number one, it is their child.
Yeah.
But if you begin to go beyond...
And by that reason,
the-
they are involved.
They are involved
Because it's
already.
my child, I'm involved.
But when you stretch beyond your boundaries,
Yeah, exactly.
means you are
I
not-
must know when to draw the
draw the
line, when the child has his or her own decision to make, and when I can just make inputs.
okay.
And stuff,
So are parents supposed to be involved in their young adult children's relationship?
I think the parents-child relationship is naturally one of involvement. I mean, right from the point of conception, all we see is involvement.
Okay.
The parent is there. A child in the mother's womb is nurtured by the mother, feeds from the mother. And when that child is born, that involvement continues. So it's hard to talk about being a parent, having a child, and not being involved. And it looks like something is wrong somewhere if the parent is not involved. But then the level to which one should be involved is a different story entirely.
Okay. Now, many people have wondered, many, young folks have wondered why parents get involved, even before they start relationship, like getting questions like, don't you have a girlfriend already? Do you have a boyfriend? And all that kind of stuff. Now, at what stage of relationship with, involving your children should parents come in and, be involved in it?
You see, there is a natural order of things,
Okay.
whether you like it or not. First off, we've established that I am involved because my child is involved. And it may be hard to say when you should have a boyfriend or you should have a girlfriend. But then, a parent naturally would ask that question. It's a natural thing.
Okay.
The same way, there is a stage in life when, for the men, the voice, the voice they say it breaks, and then you have that deep
Maturity
guttural
begins
voice,
to-
maturity sets in, and then for the ladies, they are more matured, and then, of course, as parents, this is the child you used to bathe when she was small, you can't bathe her anymore, you can't even for the male child, you have to knock before you step into the room.
Okay.
So, when these things begin to happen, expectations subconsciously in the minds of parents, and depending on how close you are with your child, chances are that you will ask. Okay, so for some in this part of the world, parents or mothers will ask their daughters most times, is anybody coming? Has anybody asked your hand? Parents and the male folks, that is fathers, will speak to their sons, not necessarily asking who are you dating or is there somebody now, but they keep warning you, be careful. If you go and impregnate somebody, you do this, do not bring any, it's about time you watch, because they are conscious that some things have changed in you. And then, but if they watch for a while and they see that maybe you do not have friends, nobody comes to visit, either male or female, the father may ask even the son, hey, what's going on? So at some point, yes, parents would ask, and it is just natural. How you ask and the persistence with which it comes could become a bother to the child.
Oh, great.
So
Great.
you don't run my life for me. Hey, I'm not down for this.
Okay.
I'm not ready for this. I want to go to school. I want to, but then the parents are struggling to say, well, yeah, you must begin to know how to multitask. You get ready for life. You have to do this. You someday become a father. You someday become a mother and stuff. So yeah, it will come.
So the stage where parents should come in, from what I've gathered from what you said, is when you have noticed that your child is somewhat independent, and then is responsible to an extent, and is mature for that particular
matured, and there are expectations.
Okay.
A child who begins to walk you don't expect the child to just
crawl.
sit down and crawl.
Okay.
Or just sit down. If the child sits, no movement, you are bothered. So it's a natural thing that parents would ask questions.
Okay.
But then you see a whole lot depends on the foundation, how you raise the kids, how
Great.
much of friends you were with your kids. It would inform what you can ask them and what you can't ask them. If you were an absentee father, and then suddenly you now believe that this son should bring a girl home, and then you are asking your son is going to look at you like, okay, where's this coming from? When did you start caring?
Wow.
And so it's
Because you were supposed to build that from the beginning.
if you had built it from the beginning, yeah, naturally when you ask, they will smile. But later they speak among themselves, you know, he asked me today.
Wow.
If that guy who came, you know, looks like he's beginning to expect something.
All right, let's hear from you.
I think I'd like to take it way further back.
Okay.
Because when you say at what stage, one expects that there is already a relationship. But I think parents are involved even before there is ever a thought of a relationship.
Okay.
And they get involved by the things they do, by how well they prepare these children for
well they prepare these children. Okay.
For relationships. Even their own relationship is a preparation for the kind of relationships the children we have. So I would say at what stage, way before there is ever a thought of a relationship, parents need to begin to prepare their children for relationships. And this is just part of normal life. How a father interacts with a mother, how a mother interacts with a father is part of that preparation, teaching them skills that have to do with communication, how to respect some other person is part of that relationship. Even the aspect of discipline, letting the child know you can't have all you want, letting the child know you need to respect other people's viewpoints and perspectives is all part of that preparation. And now eventually when probably we get to that point where we see these changes, these physical changes and even mental changes in adolescents, and we begin to think, well, it's possible they are attracted to the opposite sex. I think involvement does not necessarily always have to be direct. That involvement can go by way of observation, like we have raised earlier on, asking questions. Even if you're not asking questions, maybe paying much more attention to the children's interactions, paying much more attention to how they live, you know, the kind of choices they make, directing discussions even to go in a certain light, even if they don't ask, but drawing them to talk more about things that they probably didn't talk about before, because you know that at this stage of their life it is something they're going to face and they're going to interact. So way before it begins, but it's something that continues all through life.
Way before the child even considers anything relationship.
That's right.
Because you must have built it right from the beginning, making the child understand the stages and phases everybody has to go through. And when you get to this particular point, it is expected that you begin to associate and then try to, like, you know, have a relationship at a particular stage. But you see, most of these things, young people, a lot of us have complained about how parents get involved in our relationship. It gets to the point where you are told, no, you cannot date somebody from this side. You mean you want to go all the way to the north? You want to go all the way to the south? And then parents begin to dictate at a point, you know, the person you're marrying must be this, must be that. So how involved should parents be in their child's relationship?
Parents naturally, I would say, would get involved. It's hard for you to say they will not get involved. Because, you know, the African saying or the proverb that what an elderly man sees where he's seated, even if a child climbs onto the top of a tall tree, an oak tree, would not see it. Because an elderly person has traveled a road before.
And has much more foresight.
Look, believe you me, when you have kids, it's amazing. Sometimes we wonder as if God is breathing down our necks. What you heard in church begins to direct, is attempting to direct or shape how you take decisions today. It's the same way. You have your own child and you see a reflection of yourself in the child. The child makes some moves, talks in certain ways, and you remember how you used to be. So if you've ever made mistakes, believe you me, you will make effort to guide your child from those mistakes.
Okay.
Now, there is this idea that is around in the world where, yeah, people believe that parents are dictating and they want to control your life. They live their lives. Let's live ours and things like that. But you see, it is when people have made mistakes, they do not want, it's only a foolish person who will, I've done this, okay, you must go through it and you must also burn your fingers. Parents are oftentimes trying to ensure that you do not burn your fingers before you learn. They want to teach you that lesson, and we do teach the lesson without, we talked about from the very beginning. You are involved in your child's life, and you tell the child how to sit, how not to sit. Even though some in the feminist world will say, well, you prepare a child only to live for a man and things like that. But there could be extremes, I agree.
Okay.
But telling a child how to sit and how not to sit, what you're simply telling the child is you will sit in a community of people that would not just be all girls or all boys at some point in your life.
Okay.
This is how you spend money, or this is how you do what you do not want to do. There are things that you have done because you are preparing the child to understand that you would have to learn how to be responsible and how to save money. So if you have a good relationship with your child,
Good relationship with your
from
child.
the onset, the Bible says about Abraham that God said, I know my servant Abraham, that he will command his household after me. Abraham had a pattern. There was why was Abraham able to say to Eliezer, go to a specific place and pick? Because Abraham knows his level of relationship with God, that there are certain things that are a no. Isaac could not have married from. So those things would come. You see, it becomes a bother to a kid when you never had a relationship with him or her.
Okay.
And I don't think, parents should just say, don't marry from here, don't marry from there. But if you make a statement, growing up having kids helped me to understand, when I come back home late in the evenings, after 7, and my mother says, where are you coming from? It is now I understand that it's not just about me coming late. She was bothered about maybe I've started getting involved in things. A child never knows, but that's some thoughts are, because now I ask my child, hey, I have my own style of finding out from my daughters, who was that? I'm driving and I see a young man walking my daughter along the road. Yeah, it tells me, look, these kids are grown, but at the same time, I find a way to know what's going on.
Okay.
So it naturally would just come.
Okay. Okay, so, madam, how should this involvement, how involved should parents be in their child's relationship?
I think we've already established the fact that parents have to and naturally will be involved in their children's relationship. But now when we talk about how that may bring up the idea of the degree to which they should be involved.
Exactly.
I would say that there's this concept that people have talked about, and it's a concept of helicopter parenting. And just like the picture or the image suggests, you have a situation whereby parents are hovering over their children, just like a helicopter would hover around a particular area, not giving the children sufficient space, sufficient time to make their mistakes, to make their decisions. Yes, it's natural that a parent that has had so much experience, that has made some mistakes, would want to prevent his or her child from making the same mistakes. But we also need to accept the fact that we cannot always stop them from making every mistake. And if a parent is always present, is always interfering at every little instance, it does not allow the child to to develop a mind of his or her own, especially when it comes to relationships. Relationships come with conflicts. However we take it, conflicts are involved. You need to be able to negotiate those things. And so if the child has not learned those conflict management skills, if the child has not learned to stand for himself or for herself, it becomes a problem even in a relationship. So yes, parents should be involved. That's a basic thing. We all agree on that. But the extent to which that involvement goes should be controlled in order that the children have some room to express themselves, some room to say, well, yeah, I should have done this better. But then the parents also have a role of guidance. So those mistakes they have made, those errors of the past, they can talk to their children openly about those experiences. And so when the children face similar situations, they can, think back, look back at what their parents have said and probably learn from their experiences. But there definitely should be a margin of independence and autonomy.
You should leave some space.
Some space for the children to learn through their own personal experiences.
But the problem here is a lot of young people have complained. You have made your mistake. You want to guide me from making similar mistakes. Why don't you let me make my mistakes so I can have what to talk to my children about? And then most of these children are not comfortable with the way parents get involved. So and it's not just about the child alone. Another person is involved. So when parents get involved and then your child is not comfortable or the partner is not comfortable, how should such involvement be handled?
I think, first of all, it's good to understand why does the child or why does the partner feel uncomfortable. Once that is identified, then it begins to becomes a little easier to find out how to go about it. Maybe the approach could be the problem. If the parent comes forth as commanding, if the parent comes forth as being authoritarian. I'm not even talking about being authoritative in this case. You must do this. I haven't done this. This is how you must live. Then the child may feel like, well, my dad or my mom is acting as if I don't have a mind of my own. And we're talking about adolescence and young adulthood, a stage of life whereby young people feel that they're independent persons. And so when they feel like there's so much interference in their relationships, they are not allowed to speak for themselves, it becomes a problem.
Okay, so let me hear from you, sir.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything she has said, but don't forget, you do not begin to do that discussion at a point when the child is fully grown. You definitely will, but to do it and not sound like you're breathing down the child's neck, being authoritarian or whatever, depends on how you have grown with your child. You understand? So when I said, God said Abraham will command his child, so Abraham decided where Isaac would come from, Isaac could have revolted. But there must have been a relationship between Isaac and Abraham, some thoughts Abraham had shared with him for him to have accepted. You don't wake up overnight, you never did morning devotion with your kids, all of a sudden they are 16 and you say, oh, now they're grown, they're going to have families someday, you call them for devotion, you've lost it. But if you had always been there with them, growing with them, there's a way you talk, and your child, did you ever watch TV with your kids? Did you tell them, hey, do you remember so-so movie, what this was about, what happened to so-so character? That's what happens when you fail to do this or that. So, yeah, allow the kids to make their own mistakes. Even when no matter how much you try for them not to make those mistakes, they will make them. But remember, the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. When he is grown, he will not depart. They always would trace and come back to what they've been told and taught. But did you teach them? Did you share with them? Would be the big question.
Okay, now, if you were to look into your child's eyes this very moment, how would you explain your involvement in that child's relationship to the child?
I will explain that my involvement from the viewpoint of care, from the viewpoint of concern, from the viewpoint of wanting the best for that child, from the viewpoint of wanting to guide that child, of course, to make him or her avoid making some mistakes that I probably have made or that others have made. It's all about care. It's all about concern. It's all about guidance, wanting the best for our children. But the issue is how to communicate that is often a problem, because a parent may be putting forth an action, and the intention is a positive intention, but how the child perceives it, how the child appraises it, you know, is a different thing. So I think that's why we need to be careful about the how, the process. How do we get involved? What do we do? And back to that, I would also say it's a lot more easier when a relationship has been built, as we have said, has been built between parent and child. It's a lot more easier to do a lot of things in that context, because the children are much more receptive. The children know I can air out my views, I can say something, but I will be accepted nonetheless.
Okay. All right, sir. If your child were to look at you right now and say, you're getting involved in my relationship too much, I want you to back off, how would you handle a situation like that?
Well, first of all, it's never happened to me, but if that happens, I think it's a report sheet. It's an assessment form that tells me maybe I've overstepped my bounds, and then I want to look at it and see. So I reevaluate, and if I need to back off, I will. But if I find out I haven't, I would only explain, like you said, the whole essence of this is about you. It's tomorrow. I pray to God, give me this. I want to go this way. Somehow it is not working. I'm frustrated. Tomorrow, after missing yesterday, what I perceived that I missed yesterday, I bump into something that becomes very, very profitable. And then I said, oh, thank goodness. Oh, maybe this is what God was saying all along. The child would always, at some point, remember and know that, oh, this was what my father was saying, my mother was saying. At a point, yeah, they won't understand. So if they say you are getting too involved, I think you should allow some space and let them be. Yeah. But if you've had a relationship all from the beginning, in fact, that's the reason why they will tell you, don't you think you are overstepping? You know, and then you know, okay, fine, I didn't know, I'm sorry. Then So I would reevaluate, and if I need to, I'll step back.
All right, so wonderful to have both of you join us on this program today. There you have it. Every parent's desire is to see their child grow, thrive, and do well in life. Every involvement is for the care of the child and proper guidance, especially in the right, godly direction. That's how much we can take today on this program, Hot Button. Believing you'll be there with us same time when we come your way again. God bless you.